Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. I'm just going to take a couple minutes just to make sure everything is working okay. I see we have some people coming in. Welcome, everybody. I'm Dr. Brenda Walding. If you could do me a favor, and if you can just, in the Q&A area, if you can just type in, hello, I can hear you, I'm from wherever you're from, and just to make sure that you guys can hear me okay. This is my first time using this platform, so just wanted to check before we get started, make sure everyone can hear. I will check my Q&A box. I hope everyone's having a beautiful day. It is gorgeous here in Austin, Texas. Beautiful sun. So I don't see any, if you guys can, a few of you that are on the call, if you can just go ahead and type in something so I can see if you guys are here and being able to hear me. From Canada, hello, welcome. Okay, great, it's working. Yes, hello Megan. From Nebraska, beautiful. Okay, wonderful. All right, now I know everything is working. Perfect. Okay, some people are kind of streaming in right now, so I'm going to give us a couple minutes. So just sit tight, and then we will get going because I have a pretty significant amount of information to share with you guys today. So just sit tight for a couple minutes. And yes, as you come in, feel free to say hello and where you're from. I love seeing where people are residing from. Like I mentioned, I'm in Austin, Texas, and it is amazing weather here. Awesome. All righty. So it is 1 o'clock. So I am going to go ahead and get started. Let me shut this down. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to take a drink and then we will get going. All right. So again, welcome everyone. I'm Dr. Brenda Walding. And today, this presentation that I am delivering, we're going to be talking about 9 essentials to conquering chronic illness. And these are the 9 essentials that I speak about in my book called Sick of Being Sick, The Woman's Holistic Guide to Conquering Chronic Illness. And so we are going to dive into those today. Let's see. So is this you? Have you perhaps been saying some of these things in your head? I'm sick of being sick. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Maybe you feel stuck, stressed, scared, overwhelmed, and don't know how to get out of this negative spiral. Maybe you've been saying, I know deep down there's more to healing in life than taking pills and supplements and doing procedures. Or I can't keep doing the same things and expecting a different result. And if you're like me, I don't know how many times I said this in my mind, what is it going to take to truly heal? Perhaps you've been spinning your wheels and been trying so many different things. And is it possible to not only survive whatever you're dealing with, but to move beyond and actually thrive? And then deep down, I just want to be at peace and live my best life. So if this is you, then you're in the right place because we're going to talk about some really important things that are going to help you on your healing path. So what you'll learn today, we're going to talk about 9 essentials to incorporate into your life to heal from chronic illness or health challenges and experience greater health, happiness, and harmony in your life. The importance of taking a holistic and heart-centered approach to healing and what that is. Some insights into blocking factors that may be sabotaging your healing efforts. And how chronic illness can be a stepping stone or divine opportunity for living a rich and meaningful life. So before we dive into those 9 essentials, I'm going to share a little bit about my own healing journey. So I was seemingly very vibrant and healthy my entire life. I was an athlete and a Division I athlete, soccer player in college at TCU. And then I went on to get my doctorate degree in physical therapy. And then after that, I moved to Austin, Texas, and started my career as a physical therapist. I got engaged, got married, started a new job, all these things that are considered life stressors. And then my health just started to decline. As you can see in the picture here, this is my leg. I started developing these rashes all over my body. This is actually mild compared to what I actually experienced. They were like poison ivy rashes all over my body for, I was dealing with that for 2.5 years. They were oozing, itchy, and extremely painful. I would have to pack my body full of ice to be able to sleep at night. And so not only that, but I started to get weaker. I started to experience chronic fatigue, chronic pain. I could hardly walk up the stairs, went from being able to play 90-minute soccer match to hardly being able to walk up the stairs. And this was shortly after I got married. So it was a really challenging time being a newlywed, being in a city with not much support. And things just started, I kept getting sick more frequently. My hair started falling out. I went from a size 6 to a size 0. I was just dropping weight. And the doctors really couldn't figure out what was going on. They would give me pills and creams, and I would take them. And I just kept getting worse and wasn't really getting any answers. And then I developed a systemic infection that basically presented as pus-filled lesions in my mouth and my throat. And I couldn't swallow, I couldn't eat very well, and I had to go on disability in my late 20s from my job as a physical therapist because I couldn't function. I was in bed. So things got pretty dark, as you can imagine. I was scared that doctors were thinking that, were worried that it was going to be a fatal situation. They kept giving me rounds of antibiotics, and within a couple of days, the infection would come back after I'd finished that round of antibiotics. And so I, was cooped up inside, and after 2 months of antibiotics and being on disability, my husband, I asked him to take me to Whole Foods to get, just to get out of the house. And by the grace of God, I noticed as we're checking out an article, a magazine, and on the cover, it said Natural Solutions to Drug-Resistant Infections. And it caught my eye, and I go, oh my gosh, I think I might have a drug-resistant infection because his antibiotics aren't working. So I grabbed the magazine and I started to read it, and it started to talk about this doctor, Cass Ingram, was talking about how he was treating and dealing with very serious infections like malaria using wild Mediterranean oregano oil. So some of these natural solutions. And I thought, oh my goodness, how strange. And I got his book, I read his book, and I thought, I'm just going to try this oregano oil. And I have nothing to lose, $20, started taking it. And within 3 days, the infection in my mouth and throat went away. And for the first time in a couple years, I actually started getting some relief from the rashes and the pain. So that, as you can probably imagine, totally blew my mind. And it was my opening into holistic and natural healing. I started to dive into, what else do I not know about healing? So I started to look into nutrition, and I started to see alternative medicine and holistic practitioners, and they started to give me some answers. They started to, I took tests, and I realized I was incredibly toxic, and my body wasn't clearing out toxins very well. I had a lot of parasites, pathogens, heavy metals, lots of different challenges to my immune system, including a leaky gut. And so I started to change my diet. I started to clear out toxins from my home. And over time, I gradually started to get better. I really dove into learning about natural healing with that tenacity of an athlete of I have to heal myself, I have to fix myself. And I started to get various certifications in the realm of natural healing. And so 8 years goes by, and I gradually get better. I'm pretty much laser focused on healing. I go back to physical therapy and begin treating clients again, and start my own, my husband and I start a blog to help people with nutrition and lifestyle, and start a new company. And so 8 years into this, I'm feeling okay. It's time for me. I feel healthy enough to start a family. And this was my dream, and what I was really working this whole 8 years of very disciplined in my diet, and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on natural healing practitioners and remedies, and decided we're going to go to Italy and start this family. So a week before or so, I had been working out, and I start to I was poking around on my pectoral muscles because they were really sore, and I realized that I was really sore. And then as I was poking around, I found a lump in my breast. And as you can probably imagine, that was incredibly devastating. I knew that it wasn't good, and it ended up being breast cancer. And as you can probably I was thinking, why is this happening to me? I was so angry. I was so upset. I was getting ready to go start a family in Italy. And this is happening after all the work that I've done. And so I had to sit back and start to question, what is going on? Why is this happening? I can't, I did all the right things, and now I'm dealing with cancer. And so needless to say, we went to Italy. I didn't start a family, and we came home. And I knew for me that conventional chemotherapy and radiation was not going to be my path, but I didn't know what to do. And I was 3 a.m. in the middle of the night in my room, crying, just alone, afraid, and going, God, what do you want me to do? I don't know what to do. And I heard this voice within say, if you're going to survive, you're going to have to learn to listen to your heart. And I call this the divine whisper, because I knew in that moment that it was powerful and true, and I got a peace that came over me. And I knew that it was true, and then I knew I got scared for a moment because I didn't know how to follow my heart or listen to my heart. And I knew that there was a level of emotional and spiritual healing that I needed to dive into, but I didn't know how. And so I asked myself, how do I heal from this? And so as I was contemplating, instead of rushing out and researching and trying to figure it all out on my own, I knew I had to do something different. And I began to sit back and just ask. I realized that trying harder is not the answer. I've been doing that. I've been doing that for 8 years as a full-time job, and I wasn't really living. I knew that fighting against this and trying to fix and force and figure it all out on my own wasn't the answer. And also just this mindset of expecting a doctor or healer or medicine to fix or cure me was disempowering, and it kept me stuck in a victim mentality. I knew that wasn't the answer. And I knew that staying stuck in fear and overwhelm keeps my body from healing and was never a good place to make decisions from. And as I mentioned, I knew that learning to listen and follow my heart was crucial, but I just wasn't sure how. But I knew in that moment I was committed to finding out how. And I realized that diet and exercise was important, but not the complete picture, and that there's more to true healing than just focusing on physical health, because I realized for those 8 years, I had been focusing on healing just from the physical perspective. Even though I was focusing more naturally, I was still focusing on the supplements and the diet and the exercise, and they were all wonderful things, but I knew there was more to the picture and more to the story. So I spent the last several years following my heart and navigating cancer in a very unconventional way, just really following and trusting my heart to guide me. And it really became, it's been such an extraordinary and amazing and challenging experience. But cancer really was the gift as I followed my heart, I began to love myself for the first time. I began to connect and know myself for the first time ever. And now I can say I live an even more extraordinary, amazing life, full of connection and fulfillment and joy and so much more peace, things that I've been chasing my entire life. And when I began to listen to my heart, I really began to come home to myself. And so that is what I believe is possible when we face health challenges or disease, that it really can be a divine opportunity to create an even more rich and meaningful life. So we are going to talk about what those 9 essentials were and are that helped me in my process, and what helped so many men and women. I did, during this time, over the last several years, I researched what are men and women doing to overcome catastrophic illness. What do they all have in common? Not overcome, but actually living these, what I call wholehearted lives. And so that's where these 9 essentials come from. So here's just a little bit more about me, my credentials. Again, I'm Dr. Brenda Walding. I am the author of Sick of Being Sick, The Woman's Holistic Guide to Conquering Chronic Illness. That was published the end of last year, and hard copies will come out later this year, which I'm super excited about. They'll be in bookstores, so I think it'll be somewhere around November or December. So again, I'm a doctor of physical therapy and a women's holistic wellness empowerment coach, and that's really what I love. I love helping women, empowering women on their healing path to really create a life that they really love, and have these various certifications in the realm of holistic and natural health. And so I'd like to start this conversation or this presentation with this question, because I think it's really important and empowering to really look at. And this is something that I pondered, like, what is healing? And as I look up this word healing, it means to restore to whole. And I think this is important, because it's not just about getting rid of symptoms. Healing really is about this restoration to this experience of wholeness, being well in your soul. And so I want to share this story. My very interesting path of healing. I met a medicine man, or a healer, that had a cancer clinic in the Amazon jungle. And I found him. He came across my path as I followed my heart. I had a practitioner that I was working with here in Austin say he met this man in Peru, and that it would perhaps benefit for me to talk with him. And so, as you may experience, once I was diagnosed with cancer, I knew that things just kind of go out the window. Things that maybe you wouldn't normally entertain. You're just very open. And so I was like, okay, I want to talk to this guy, and I'm really interested in what he has to say. So I got on the phone with him, and I said, well, can what you do, at your cancer clinic, or what you've learned about the healing power of the plants and techniques that you've learned, could it heal me? And he got really quiet, and he said, I'm going to tell you 2 stories. And I said, okay. I'd love to hear them. He said, well, the first story is about a woman who came to the cancer center in the jungle, and she had breast cancer. She had several tumors in her breast, and she did the deep emotional and spiritual healing work, and the detox, and all the stuff that we do there. And she started to feel lighter. She started to shed deep emotional pain that she had been carrying with her, and went through the program and went back home, and went to her doctor, and all of her tumors were gone, and she was healed. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And I was really excited. I was like, oh wow. And then she goes, and then there was a second woman, and she came down. She had stage 4 cancer of some kind, and she came alone. She was very bitter, very resentful, and she was having a hard time getting around. Her physical body was weak, and she began to do the healing work, same as the other woman, and she started to talk to more people. She was actually estranged from her family, and she was estranged from her husband. And over the course of the time there, she reunited with her husband. He came down, and they rekindled their romance, and she began to reconnect with her family, and she started to experience more peace, and she became lighter and began to connect more with people, and she began to heal on a really deep level and shed all of that pain and all of that sadness and all of that bitterness. And she spent the last remainder of her life, her body got weaker and weaker, but she passed away in complete peace in the arms of her husband and her family. And he said, and she was healed. And it just really hit me in a really profound way, because healing isn't just this sick body that is made well. It's not, we're not going to leave this, everyone's going to leave this planet at some point. So it's not just about avoiding death, because we're all going to die, but really about this restoration of wholeness and really fully experiencing our life for the amount of time that we have here. So that was really powerful for me. So I invite you to really take that in and really look at healing from a new perspective. So what is this holistic approach? So whether you choose to go a conventional medical path in your journey, or more natural or alternative, it doesn't matter, but it's important that you really take a holistic approach, because we are so much more than physical beings. We are these spiritual beings having a human experience. We have a physical body, we have a mind, we have an emotional body. We have these 4 bodies. So it's so important, in order to truly heal, that we take into account all of these aspects of who we are. Because when we just focus on the physical, it's limited. It's limited in our ability to heal and our ability to live our best life. And then heart-centered. What does a heart-centered approach really mean? As I mentioned in my explanation around, that divine whisper of, I needed to learn to listen to my heart. And so I began to learn more about the power and the wisdom of the heart, and learn, how do I actually tap into my heart? And is there real science behind this? And amazingly, there is. I found that the heart is actually way more powerful than we thought. It's actually in many ways more powerful than the brain. The heart begins beating in an unborn fetus before the brain is even formed. So we know that the heart actually has its own brain and its own nervous system. And it's actually 100 times more powerful magnetically and 60 times more powerful electrically than the brain. And so we have these ancient old adages or sayings like, follow the heart, listen to your heart. And there is absolutely very real wisdom behind this. And so when the heart and the brain are communicating, we call this heart-brain harmony or coherence. You can see over here on the right side of the screen where the green, the brain, and the heart are connecting. When we're able to get what we call in a state of coherence, of communication, where the heart is informing the brain and we're listening and leading from the heart, we have a reduction in stress and anxiety. This improves our body's ability to heal, because all the systems of the body are in harmony. We're able to access our intuition and make decisions for our highest good. We're able to be more resilient and regulate emotions. But when we are stuck in our head and we are in this place of fear and frustration and overwhelm, we become disconnected from the heart. And it's called incoherence. And so here you can see the heart and the brain disconnected. And you have an erratic heart rhythm, which creates disharmony in the body. So it's so important to learn. I teach my clients how to get into this state of coherence, which is really, really powerful. So really learning to take this heart-centered approach and this wholehearted way of living and healing is so powerful. So here are the 9 wholehearted healing essentials. And as we dive in, we're going to kind of take one by one, and we're going to take a little bird's eye view, because in reality, I could probably go into a whole lecture on each one of them. So I'm going to give you kind of the brief overview one by one. So the first one is taking responsibility for your health, and taking responsibility for your health and for your life. It's so important that we really own our health and our life and stop giving our power away to other people. So often we think doctors or healers are responsible for our health, and we just do and listen whatever they have to say, or that we're seeking outside of ourselves for the right pill or the right potion or supplement, and we're really giving our power away. what we want to do is really take ownership for our own health and our own power of our body to be able to heal, and take responsibility for everything that has happened up until this point in our life. Because we, as humans, are co-creating our reality, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what that means. But we're constantly creating with our thoughts and our words and our feelings. And it's so important that whatever is happening in our life or has happened, that we take full responsibility. Because when we take responsibility, we're able to take responsibility and accept what has happened or what is happening. It creates an opening for us to create something new and different. And that is powerful. So taking responsibility. And so there's another aspect of responsibility, and that is our ability to respond. And I love this quote by Viktor Frankl. And if you don't know who Viktor Frankl is, he is a doctor. He survived, a neurologist, I believe, and he is a author, and he is a Holocaust survivor. He survived the Holocaust and witnessed his entire family perish, and witnessed and experienced extraordinarily difficult circumstances, and overcame them to live a wholehearted, extraordinary life. And he says this quote, which is my favorite quote, and if you can really breathe this in and take this in and live this, it's life-changing. So it's between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space is the power to choose your response, and in that response lies your growth and freedom. So I'm going to break that down. Between stimulus, what is happening to you, or the circumstance that's happening, and how you respond, there's a space. In that space is the power to choose your response. So we always have the power to choose how we will respond in any given situation. We may not have full control over the circumstances in our life, but we have the power to choose how we will respond. And in that response lies our growth and freedom. And so with this disease, with this health challenge, with this adversity, you get to choose how you will respond. Will it be the thing, this ball and chain that holds you down? Will it keep you stuck in victimhood? Or will this be your opportunity to really come home to yourself, to really create an even more rich and meaningful life, which is possible? And so just recognizing that we have that power to choose. And so essential number 2 is creating a vision for your health and life. And one of my mentors says, it's better to be pulled by your vision than pushed by your problems. And this is so powerful. I teach my clients, and I believe it's so important to have a vision or have a dream and really get clear on what that is, because it's so easy to stay, when you are dealing with something incredibly challenging, you're in chronic pain, you're dealing with all kinds of health issues, it's so easy to stay stuck in the pain and the sadness and the fear and the anguish. And it's hard to get out of that place. But being in that state of fear and those depleting emotional states keeps us from getting our body in this state that it's able to heal. And so it's so important that we create this vision for our health and our life. And what we know now about energy and quantum physics, that the power of imagination is extraordinary. And when we have an intention combined with an elevated emotional state like love or gratitude, then we begin to change on the level of our DNA, and we begin to draw that experience into our life. And I'll give you an example of this. So when I was really sick and I was in bed on disability, covered in rashes, pretty miserable, depressed, feeling sorry for myself, my husband would come in and try to cheer me up, bless him. And he came in one day and he said, Brenda, what would you do if you could do anything, could go anywhere? What would be your dream? And I almost looked at him, like, are you crazy? Do you see what I look like? I could not fathom how I was going to get out of this situation. And I couldn't even remember what feeling healthy felt like. And so I was annoyed. And he said, no, babe, come on, like really, really feel into like, what would you love? What would be your most perfect dream or day? And so I closed my eyes and I started to, what came to me was being on a beach, being on a bikini, like wearing a bikini. My skin was smooth and clear and tan, and I was able to run and jump and play in the water with my husband and experience the sunshine on my skin and the amazing air and flowers and beach. And I began to smile, and I completely changed my state in that moment. And then he encouraged me to replay that vision over and over in my head every single day with detail. And I did. And what I didn't realize was, and I didn't really understand it at the time, but that was probably one of the most powerful things I could have done to heal and to move from that state of chronic illness. Because 2 years later, I was able to, fulfill that dream in Costa Rica. Here's my husband and I on the beach, able to be in that bikini again, able to have clear skin. I'm so grateful and so blessed. And so here is a quote kind of explaining the power of vision and intention. And Dr. Joe Dispenza is an amazing man. He's an amazing healer, and he speaks to this. And if you don't know who this is, I highly recommend checking out his story. So he was hit by a car and had injuries on his vertebrae and his spine. And he was told that he would, to ever have a chance of walking again, he would have to have this very complex surgery and insert rods in his spine. And he knew a lot. He was a chiropractor. He knew a lot about the power of the mind. And he knew that if he had the surgery, that he would probably be dealing with chronic pain the rest of his life. And just for his intuition and his belief and his ability to heal, he said no against the doctor's advice. And he spent every single day laying flat, memorizing, imagining his entire spine healed. And anytime a negative thought would come in, he would start over and begin having that intention of his spine and vertebrae healing, and was able to walk again. I think at 10 to 12 weeks, he started to walk and begin to exercise again. And now he teaches and has dove into the power of the brain and the mind to heal, and has many books and has helped so many people heal from catastrophic illness. And he says, when you've experienced an event numerous times by mentally rehearsing every aspect of it in your mind, you feel, this is important, you feel what the event would feel like before it unfolds. Then as you change circuitry in your brain by thinking in new ways, and you embrace the emotions of an event ahead of its physical manifestation, it's possible that you can change your body genetically. And that's extraordinary. And as I've learned more about the science behind this, this is something that I've incorporate every single day. So it's so important to have a powerful intention and vision. This is another example of the power of heart-focused intention. And this is a heart math study. I mentioned I'm a heart math certified coach, and heart math has done extraordinary research on the power of the heart. And there's a study that they did that explains this beautifully. So they took participants and they had them hold 3 vials of DNA. And they were asked to get into this coherent place. So we talked about that coherence is that state of brain-heart harmony. And get into that state and to have an intention to simultaneously unwind 2 out of the 3 test tubes of DNA. So unwind the DNA with their heart-focused intention. So with intention and getting into this place of coherence. And what they found was those that were able to get into this place of coherence and had been well practiced with this and had that intention were able to unwind the strands of DNA as requested. So 2 out of the 3 samples. And those that were not able to get in that place of coherence and weren't practiced were not able to do it. And so that is the power of having an intention with an elevated emotional state. And this is a lot of the work and practice that I do with my clients, is teaching them how to get into a state of coherence. So powerful, amazing stuff. I highly recommend checking out Heart Math and their work. So essential number 3 is thoughts and beliefs. And we kind of alluded to the power of our mind and the power of thoughts and beliefs. And this is something I feel like is often overlooked on the healing path, is really looking at the importance of managing our minds and really looking at our beliefs, because these are things that can be, when we align them with our vision and desire to heal, they can be very powerful. And if we aren't aware, these are some things that can be sabotaging our ability to heal. And I love this quote by Louise Hay. Many of you may know who Louise Hay. She helps so many people heal with her books and her lectures. And she says, you have the power to heal yourself, and you need to know that. We think so often that we are helpless, but we're not. We always have the power of our minds. Claim and consciously use your power. And Louise Hay, during her work of, she spoke a lot about metaphysics, or healing beyond the physical body. And she encountered ovarian cancer in her journey and was able to heal herself through the power of healing her emotional wounds and power of the mind, and without doing conventional therapy, as well as nutrition and detox, several different things. But she lived until recently. She passed away recently at 90 years old. So another amazing, amazing healer and teacher. So thoughts. So important to be a diligent gardener of your mind and begin to learn how to manage your thoughts. Why is that? Well, we think 60,000 thoughts a day, and most are negative and repetitive. So take that in for a moment. If you are not managing your thoughts, you're constantly getting this stream of negative and repetitive thoughts, and we kind of stay stuck in these negative thinking and feeling loops, which, many people wonder why they keep experiencing negative or experiencing things that they don't desire in their life. And a lot of it is because we continue to think and feel on the same patterns. So we have to begin to manage the mind. There's a quote or saying the mind is a wonderful servant, but a horrible master. So this whole idea of the mind, the brain is an amazing tool when it's informed by the heart. And so we got to learn to begin to manage the thoughts and allow only those thoughts you wish to experience. And so that takes practice, and it takes various tools, and it can be done. But it's so important that we begin to bring awareness to this. And then what about belief? So I've alluded to and spoke about the power of our intention and thinking, and combined with feeling, the feeling states. And so a belief is a certainty that comes from accepting what we think is true in our minds, coupled with what we feel is true in our hearts. So a belief is extremely powerful. You've probably heard of the placebo effect, where someone will take a quote unquote sugar pill, and if they believe that it is a drug that is going to help them get rid of their headache or their joint pain, and then oftentimes it does. Oftentimes the placebo effect is what it's called. Having a placebo, just believing in the power, can be just as powerful as medications in some clinical research. So belief is extraordinarily powerful because it combines thinking and feeling. And most of our beliefs, whether you realize it or not, and know that our beliefs really create the blueprint of our life. And so our thoughts and our words and our actions are all powered by what we believe, often on a subconscious level. So most of our life is dictated by what we hold in our subconscious mind, which is our mind that is below the conscious. So we may not even really know what is happening in the subconscious. And these beliefs that are operating our life are often created between the ages of 0 and 7 years old. So between 0 and 7 years old, so these are the beliefs that we inherit or that we take on from our mom and dad, our family, the culture, religion. And so why I'm bringing this up is that oftentimes as adults, whether those beliefs are true for you or not, they're often influencing our life in really powerful ways. And we get into adulthood and we're still operating from these beliefs, and we don't even check and check and see if they're true for us. And so it's so important, you know, if you're dealing with a chronic illness, it's like, what do I actually believe about life, about God, about my ability to heal, about my limitations, about my abilities? And so, like, for example, you know, you might have a deep desire to heal, but believe deep down that you don't deserve it, or believe deep down that you're being punished. And so it's so important. I do this work with my clients, is to really, you know, begin to look at beliefs, your belief systems. And this is true no matter what. It's so important that we begin to question and look at what we actually believe. And essential number 4 is feel your feelings. And this is all about the emotional body. And I feel like, and I know this to be true, that if you're dealing with a chronic illness, this is probably one of the most overlooked pieces of the puzzle, is the emotional health. I think it's one of those things that a lot of people don't look at, and it is a missing piece for a lot of people. This neuroscientist, Candace Pert, says, since emotions run every system of our body, do not underestimate their power to contribute to health and disease. And this is so true. Our emotions are, what are emotions? Emotions are essentially energy in motion. And I love that definition because it shows us that emotions are energy, and they're meant to be felt and moved through our body. And as humans, we are designed to feel the full spectrum of human emotions: sadness, fear, anger, happiness. That is part of what brings texture and meaning and, you know, richness into our life. But yet we're kind of conditioned to try to avoid emotions and not feel certain emotions. And that creates disharmony in the body, because that energy gets stuck. When we suppress shame and fear and guilt, then it creates dysfunction and disharmony in the body. So one important piece of the puzzle is really learning to feel our feelings and to learn how to feel our feelings. It's called emotional intelligence, because our emotions, as you've probably gathered, have very real impacts on our physical body. They are the primary drivers of our physiology. So I'm going to show this to you. This is how emotions impact the heart. So negative, quote unquote negative, I don't like to use the word negative emotions, but that's how a lot of people speak about things like fear or frustration or anger, things that people don't often like to feel. Candace Pert says any honest emotion is a positive emotion. But these more depleting emotions create nervous system chaos, an incoherent heart rhythm, and disharmony in the body. So you can see on the upper graph, this is the heart rhythm when someone is feeling frustration. And when we stay stuck in this level of frustration or fear or shame or guilt, some of these depleting emotions, and we don't allow that energy to move, it creates not only disharmony or chaos in the heart, it affects the entire body. And so we also see that renewing emotions like love, appreciation, and gratitude, looking at the lower graph, it creates this really smooth, beautiful sinusoidal rhythm, and it creates harmony in the systems of the body, harmony in the mind and the heart and the emotions. So everything is working in sync. And so that's the impact of our emotional states. So it's so important to begin to become more intelligent when it comes to emotions. And that has a huge, huge impact on healing. As you probably know, stress. Most people live in a state of low to moderate, to severe stress constantly, chronically. And our bodies weren't designed for that. It creates total system chaos and then begins to deplete our immune system. And so it's so important that we begin to learn how to harness our emotions, how to manage our emotions. And that also involves how we manage our mind, because they're very much interconnected. So here is another example of heart coherence. This person has, by practicing heart coherence techniques, this person is able to shift from this chaotic heart rhythm through shifting to appreciation, that elevated emotional state, and doing some deep breathing. This person's able to shift in the matter of minutes to this healing state, this state where the heart, the mind, the body, emotions, and the nervous system is in sync. And so this is so important to learn how to practice coherence, and can be done throughout the day. And this is a really powerful tool to learn. And again, this is something that I work with my clients. And so what are the benefits of heart coherence? This is a study conducted over 11,000 people practicing coherence. In just 6 to 9 weeks, they're able to decrease depression by 56%, and fatigue by 48%, anxiety by 46%. So many benefits of being in that coherent state. Improves your ability to sleep, which is so important in healing. And also our ability to access our intuition. And that is so important on this path of healing, because I know one thing I do know, not everybody's path is the same. You couldn't follow my path and get the same results. But what I do know is that making a decision from a place of incoherence or fear is never the right decision. So really learning how to tap into the heart's intuition to be able to guide us is extraordinarily important to be able to navigate your healing journey and also your life. And the other piece that I will say about emotions before we move on, it's so important to go back and to heal emotional wounds and emotional trauma, to release that energy. So it's about being emotionally intelligent and learning those skills for the present and for the future, and also going back and healing those emotional wounds from the past. Essential number 5 is live to thrive. And this is all about lifestyle factors. So what are the lifestyle things that you want to implement to optimize your ability to heal and to thrive? And so that would be some of these things probably you've heard of and are fairly simple. But when I talk to my clients, often these things they're not taking action on them. They're not implementing them. And these are foundational. So sleep, getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And especially in the prime time window between 10 and 12 o'clock is when our body repairs itself. So really focusing on getting that sleep between 10 to 12. Doing some type of movement. Movement is really important. Exercise, we've all heard that exercise is really important. It's tuning into the right kind of exercise for your body. You don't want to be doing so much that it's depleting your adrenals and depleting your body. Getting quality and adequate sunshine, being in nature. Nature is so healing. Being able to get your feet on the earth, spending time in nature is very healing. And then play. As adults, we've forgotten how to play. And so bringing play and laughter back into your life. There's an amazing man named Norman Cousins who healed from a quote-unquote incurable illness. And he said he attributed to his healing, the main thing was laughter. He would put on funny movies. And so he talked about laughter and supplements and nutrition were the things that really helped him to heal. So really focusing on what you're surrounding yourself, what type of energy. So high vibration, laughter, love, compassion, those things are really important to surround yourself with when you're on this healing path. And then reducing toxin exposure. This is really important. So according to Dr. Pizzorno, author of Toxin Solution, toxins are now the primary cause of chronic disease. They are driving much of what we see as clinicians. We need to reckon with the fact that our population is incredibly sick and toxins are a major driver. So this is just another thing to be aware of. We are exposed to over 500 toxic substances on a daily basis, and we've really, as time has gone on, we become more and more inundated with toxic chemicals. And so we want to do our best, not obsess, but do our best to reduce exposure. And, things we can control, food, the quality of our food, choosing organic food, looking at how that food is prepared and grown and not inundated with pesticides and herbicides. So important. We want to take that burden off of our body as it's healing. So we need to be really conscious on the quality of food, the quality of our water, making sure we have a good purification and filtration for our water, looking at our home environment. What cleaning products are you using? The type of cookware, the airborne chemicals like cleaners and things that are off-gassing in the home, minimizing those things. And then personal care products. I think I read a article that talked about as women, the average beauty routine exposes us to 515 different synthetic chemicals, many of them being carcinogenic. And so, that's something I also do with my clients, is really helping them to detox their home environment. And so that is a really important piece, and just doing your best to minimize exposure. And number 6 is eat, drink, detox. And so this is where we're diving into nutrition. And you all know that likely know that nutrition is a key component of healing and hydration, as well as detoxification. And so foods to focus on, and I'm not going to go in detail into different types of diets because that can vary, but really is the focus is eating whole, real, nutrient-dense foods in its most natural form, and eliminating toxic and inflammatory foods. And across the board, really focusing on vegetables and fruits and herbs and spices. Again, quality is really important. So organic or food that's grown without pesticides and herbicides. Hitting up your local farmers market is a really beautiful way to get really nutrient-dense food. And then consuming quality fats like coconut oil, olive oil, and organic grass. If you're choosing to eat animal protein, making sure that it's organic, grass-fed, pasture-raised. You don't want to be, again, being exposed to hormones and antibiotics while you're on a healing path. And choosing well-caught seafood. Oops, excuse me. And then foods to avoid. And you've probably heard this, you really want to cut out the sugar. We really want to clear the diet of processed and refined foods. I highly recommend ditching dairy products. Dairy products are milk, cheese. They can be very inflammatory for most people, especially conventional dairy, with the exception of grass-fed butter and ghee. You want to eliminate toxic fats and oils. These are things like canola oil, soybean oil, sunflower oil. These are the things that are found in processed and packaged foods and are often used in restaurants, and especially fast food restaurants. So you really these are very inflammatory, and they will even use these oils in natural, quote unquote, natural healthy foods. So really read your labels. I recommend getting rid of gluten and grains, artificial sweeteners, things like all of your red and blue and white packets that you find, aspartame, things like that. Getting rid of processed soy, things like your soy milks and soy cheeses. Those are highly, highly processed using chemicals. And getting rid of genetically modified organisms. And one of the best ways that you can do that is focusing on organic foods and choosing foods that have the label of the non-GMO project on them. So important. And again, it's not just about the food, it's about getting quality hydration and really focusing on digestion, because it's not just about what you eat, it's about what you can absorb, digest, and assimilate. And so digestion is really important, and detoxification. So learning some very gentle, natural ways to detoxify the body, especially since we are being inundated with chemicals on a daily basis. And then, depending on what you're dealing with, you may work with somebody to do detoxification protocols. So essential number 7 is connection and relationships. This is actually really another one of the most overlooked pieces in the healing puzzle, and also one of my favorites. What is the impact of loneliness? There's a lot of research happening right now. We are the most connected we've ever been via technology and virtual connections. We're able to have this amazing webinar or masterclass and people from all over. And yet the truth is we're the most lonely, isolated, disconnected society. We're the most socially disconnected than we've ever been. And I found these incredible statistics. Loneliness or living alone and poor social connections are as bad for your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's amazing. And loneliness is worse for you than obesity. So it's also a risk factor for premature death, just like obesity. So it's up there. And socially isolated women are 64% more likely to die from breast cancer than socially integrated women. So really powerful, really, really powerful stuff. We are social beings as humans, and it's one researcher talks about connection as being equivalent to food and water. That's how much we need connection. And so what is connection? Authentic connection is I love this definition from Brene Brown. So really feel into this as I read it and kind of evaluate your own life and see if you feel like you have authentic connection with the relationships in your life. So authentic connection is the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment, and when they derive sustenance and strength from the relationship. And that's a really powerful definition. And when I ask my clients, based on this definition, do you feel authentically connected? And so many times they say, no, I don't have that. And they realize that they're missing that. And this is something that, cancer was, connection was this gift for me. And during my cancer journey, I really began learning about authentic connection and how that requires vulnerability, and really leaning into receiving support and asking for support and cultivating that type of connection. And it's become probably the best gift of my entire life, of really learning how to authentically connect with other women, with other people. It's so powerfully healing. I do women's circles, and when women come together to connect in a sacred and safe container to experience connection, there's so much healing that happens. And so I invite you to explore this in your life on a deeper level. So relationships, all I'll say here is just to take inventory of your relationships. This can be a really huge source of intense emotional pain and stress that is fueling the chronic illness or fueling the health challenges, because some people are stuck in relationships or not creating appropriate boundaries, and it's creating a lot of stress and turmoil. So really, looking at those relationships is important. And essential number 8 is called love yourself. And, self-love, you've probably heard that thrown around so much, and you gotta care for yourself, you gotta love yourself, but really, truly, this is the thing, the most important thing for anyone, any woman, any man wanting to heal and wanting to experience an amazing life. You've got to learn to truly love yourself and love your life. And the thing is, it's not when you get better. It's not when you lose weight. It's not when this thing happens, then I will love my life and then I'll love myself. When you begin to love and accept yourself exactly as you are now, before that thing happens, but love yourself with all of your imperfections, then that's really what creates an opening for healing to come in. I love this quote by Dr. Christiane Northrup. She says, "The inability to love and accept yourself and your humanity is at the heart of many illnesses." Just take that in for a moment. And to be loved and accepted, you must start by loving yourself. If you have traits that you consider unlovable, you must love them anyway. It's a paradox. So again, self-love, so important. And I love this quote. I mentioned this concept. Healing is not simply the result of a sick body made well. We've talked about that. It's not just about the physical body. Wholeness and healing are a state of being, the result of knowing who and what we are. And so really loving ourselves at our essence, this part of us that is divine, that is also human. And so I'd like to, I'll share with you, I have this picture of the Grand Canyon here, about my client, Carol. She came to me, she was about 70 years old, and she was dealing with a neurological condition called Parkinson's. And when she came to me, she said, I'm dealing with this, but I am really feeling scared, and I'm feeling stressed and scared, and I'm not happy in my life. And I'm worried about the future because the doctors say that, I might never, I might have to go live in a home, and I'll lose my ability to walk. And so all of this fear was just clouding her life, and she was depressed and she was upset. And so I began to work with her, and we began to chat, and I asked her, what do you love? Like, what makes you feel alive? She's like, well, I love to hike, and I love to kayak, and I love to paint, and I love to swim. And I said, are you doing any of that? And she said, well, no. She said, well, I'm afraid, so I wanted to hike the Grand Canyon, but my doctor said that I'll never be able to do that. Isn't that amazing how doctors and people will cast these spells with their words, and we believe them? And, she's afraid of getting in the kayak because her gait, her walking was a little bit, not as smooth as it was. And so as we started working together, I gave her, heart work, I call it, to, ask her husband to help her go on a kayak trip. And so she started kayaking, and it went beautifully, and she started painting again and swimming, and she started to come alive. And she said she started to walk better, and she began to connect with people in her life, and she started dancing again, and she went on hikes, and she sent me an email saying, I went on a hike, and then I got in the water, and, went for, took my clothes off and got in the water, and just she began to live this beautiful life. And, by the end, she had signed up for that trip to go on the Grand Canyon. And so, she may have a diagnosis in the background of Parkinson's, but she is experiencing healing in a state of wholeness and living her life to the fullest. And that's what healing is all about. And so I just share that with you as an inspiration, because she fully embodied that experience of wholeness and living her life. And essential number 9 is trust and surrender. And I will tell you that this is and has been the most challenging piece for me to really embrace, because it's not about the head. It's trust and surrender is all about the heart. And trust really is about trusting in your innate ability to heal, because the body is always working towards a state of harmony and wholeness, and has the incredible ability to heal itself. It's up to us to get rid of the toxic thoughts and emotions and, physical toxins, and allowing that body to heal, and trusting and surrendering to that higher power, whether you call it God or source or consciousness. In my research with men and women that were healing from catastrophic illness or health challenges, there was always this element of these people that are living these wholehearted lives and healing, that, we're relying and trusting and surrendering to this higher power, that we're letting go of trying to fix and force and control their lives, and really beginning to live from their heart and trust. And as I've delved into this and began learning how to trust and surrender, my life is so much different. It's so much more beautiful. It's so much more peaceful. There's so much more joy. And this energy really allows for healing. And so this is a really important piece as well. So just to summarize, what are the crucial factors for true healing and thriving? So 1, taking this holistic approach. Remember, we aren't just physical bodies. We are mental, emotional, and spiritual as well. So really taking that whole, all 4 bodies into consideration. And then taking this heart-centered approach, really learning to navigate life from our heart and tapping into the power of the heart. And so that is incredibly important. So no longer really living from our head and allowing our head to be in control. When we do that, we often stay stuck in a place of fear. And we know that's not the state conducive to healing. And then lastly, this whole, really embracing the wholehearted healing 9 essentials. So taking this heart-centered holistic approach to life and beginning to incorporate and live these 9 essentials. But what gets in the way? And, you know, all of these 9 essentials, it might be overwhelming to some of you. And honestly, I didn't, you know, embrace these things after 1 day, 2 days. It took time. It took weeks. It took months. It took years. I'm still going deeper. I tell my clients, you know, it's like peeling back layers of an onion. You know, this is we peel back these layers and we go deeper into this place of healing and wholeness. And so what gets in the way of people actually implementing these 9 essentials? And first and foremost, it's overwhelm and fear. And I totally get it. Oftentimes when we're dealing with chronic illness or pain or health challenges, there's so much going on and we're so overwhelmed and we're stuck. Like, I get it. Most of my clients come to me and they're like, I'm stuck and I'm afraid and I'm overwhelmed. And that's the thing. It's challenging, you know, even if they learn about this, people learn about these 9 essentials and they read the book and they learn, you know, even more information, they still don't take action. And the only way that these things are going to benefit you is if you begin to live them and implement them in your life. But what keeps people from taking action is the fear and the overwhelm. And so it's so important to have, you know, a mentor or a coach to be able to navigate these. It actually wasn't until I started working with a coach that I really began to make strides, because I was so afraid. I was afraid to die. I was afraid to die, and I was afraid and stuck. And so having someone that can hold that space for you and say, I believe in your ability to heal. I know you are well. You are whole. You are well. And hold that for you until you can begin believing it yourself is so powerful and so important. And so, you know, also realizing we all have blind spots. We all have things that we don't know that we don't know. And, you know, things that are holding us back that only other people can see. And that's why having a coach is so important. You know, even people like Tiger Woods and amazing athletes, they have coaches to be able to pinpoint and see, you know, even to this day, I still need a coach. I still need a mentor to help me see where I'm sabotaging myself or where I'm, you know, falling off. You know, we have this plethora of limiting beliefs and mindsets that can be tough to shake and can be tough to identify on our own. And making changes on your own can be hard. You know, if you've ever tried to you do a diet on your own and then you've fallen off the wagon, it's a lot easier if you have a coach or you have a support system. So that connection, that support is also important. And then not having accountability. So you can begin to implement, say, a nutritional change or, you know, practicing a tool. But then if you don't have accountability, it's so easy to, you know, slip back into old patterns. Our brain is wired for staying in sameness and security. We have a hard time breaking old habits. And so it's helpful to have support. So if you are someone that really resonated with what I've shared today, you know, if this holistic and heart-centered approach really resonates with you, if you have a deep desire to heal and thrive, if you want to feel healthier, less stressed, more energy, more peace, more happiness, if you're ready to get unstuck and live your best life. And that's what I hear oftentimes from so many women. I just want to be unstuck and I just want to live my best life. And I completely get it. And I'm ready and willing to learn and make changes in my life. If that is you, if you really resonate, if you feel as I'm talking in your body, you're like, yes, I feel that is really resonating with me, then I would love to offer you all a free gift, a free 45-minute consultation. And we can take this a bit further. And to schedule that call, all you have to do is go to www.brendawalding.com. And this link is a link to my personal calendar. So when you get there, you'll see just pick a time and a day, and you can sign up, and then I will call you. And so what that call looks like, again, these are for people that are really ready to kind of dive into these 9 essentials deeper. And also for me to just, it's really going to be a safe and confidential space for you to express what you're dealing with, your frustrations, your dreams, your desires. And for me to provide ideas and how I might be able to support you moving forward. Or if I don't believe that I can, I'll offer you recommendations to someone or something else that I think may benefit you wherever you are on your path. So, if this resonates with you, I invite you to come connect with me. I really, helping women and empowering and supporting women to heal and to live their best life is my passion. It is why I'm on the planet. I believe why I went through a lot of what I went through. And so, I really believe that, if I can overcome chronic illness and debilitating pain, then so can you. And, disease can be a divine opportunity for you to come home to your heart, to awaken, and to become your truest, best version of yourself. And I am here and would love to support you on that path. So, if that resonates with you, please, again, just jot down that link, www.brendawalding.com. And, I thank you so much for taking the time today to be here. If you have questions, you can, if they're simple questions, go ahead and put them in the Q&A, and then I will kind of close the call. And for people that want to pop off, they can pop off. I'll answer a few questions. But if you have a long, in-depth question and it's very personal in nature, then I invite you to go ahead and schedule a call. And the other way to contact me is to email me at risetoradiance@gmail.com. So thank you again so much for being on this call and taking that time. I'm recording this call, so I'll also be sending out, for those that registered, I'll be sending out this presentation so that you can replay it, or if you missed the first part, feel free to watch it again. And so thank you all. Have a beautiful and wonderful day. For those of you that need to get on with your day, enjoy your day, and thank you so much for coming. And I will stick around for a few more minutes to answer any questions in the Q&A. Again, thank you, and goodbye. Namaste. All right, I am going to check the Q&A box. Okay, awesome. Oh, thank you, Megan. Okay, and if anybody else has questions, I don't see any right now, so just go ahead and email me with questions or schedule your call. All right, guys, thank you, and have a beautiful day.